Welcome to this episode of Leadership Synergized. I'm Kevin Smith, your host, and it's an honor to have you join us wherever you're at in the world, whatever time of day it is. We're going to talk about leadership, life, the challenges, but also the successes. We like to bring guests that have been there, done that, and are continuing to go forward in serving their heart, God, and the mission to help pay things forward with a legacy that, for me, and I'm sure many of you may find and certainly will find that's unmatched and unparalleled. So I'm just so appreciative you've taken this moment. We're into our third year now with this podcast, and it means a great deal to me that you continue to come back. And I'm hopeful, and I know with the confidence that you're going to find a nugget today because we have a very special guest. You can see her smiling face on our screen, taking a break from her extremely busy schedule. So maybe she'll share a bit about how well she does with the organizational settings of her role in world. Ms. Becky Spieth, a author, coach, trainer, speaker, a founding member of the Maxwell leadership team, and quite honestly, just an outstanding child of God that places faith above all else with her servantship. And Ms. Spieth, God bless you for being here, my friend. I know you're super busy and you've got a million other things you could probably be doing at this moment, but thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kevin. I'm so excited to be here. I just feel like this is just another step in the divine assignment that we have together.
When I stepped back and was thinking about how do I open up today's episode and how do I do her justice with the introduction, a word or two words really kept coming back to me. And I don't know that I've ever met anyone as naturally inspirational, motivational, just through the casual conversational approach that you take. And you've made a big difference in my life and serving as a coach and some of the confidence and pieces you've helped me with. But you've done that for hundreds and hundreds of individuals in your life and career. And I don't want to attempt to put words in the forefront to describe Becky Spieth, where she's at today. So I'm just going to turn it over and let you introduce yourself and what you're about and talk a bit about your mission, but your business that you serve through.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin. I do love people, and I have known probably since I was a little girl that it was my life mission that God really created me to empower leaders. My cousins might have said I was a little bossy back in the day, but thank goodness that God grew me, and I found John Maxwell and learned about personal growth and development when I was just a young mom homeschooling my kids, trying to help my nonverbal autistic son become verbal again, and running a small business. I was given a book by John Maxwell, and it changed my life, and I really felt like God whispered to me in that moment that I would work with John someday. And, fast forward, I don't know, probably about 15 years after that, I was able to join the Maxwell team and now become a part of faculty there, specializing in business building and leadership development. And it's just been an incredible journey to be able to work with people all over the globe. That's one of the things I love to do. It's outside of what I do with my Leaders Empowered consulting business. But I love being able to help support our 50,000 plus coaches, speakers, and trainers that are a part of that team build businesses, because I know they're empowering the leaders of leaders. And that's really, I feel like my call in life is to empower the leader of leaders with their teams and then really help them to optimize results. And I love excellence and high performance and really valuing people, because I really feel like leadership isn't just about strategy or execution. It's really about transformation. And that's what I love about being able to have my own consultancy, because I can integrate faith into that as well, where that true transformation takes place. And it gives me the ability to integrate at the level that is appropriate. I don't do, come in, Bible thumping people in large corporate situations, but I'm always available with the love of God being able to flow through me. And so when you talk about a little bit of what I do and what I've done, I am the CEO of Leaders Empowered, a leadership development consultancy. I am a TEDx speaker coach here in Atlanta, And I mentioned about the faculty with Maxwell, but I've worked with Fortune 50 companies, global ministries, entrepreneurs, small businesses, direct sellers, anyone that really feels like they've outgrown their old strategies and they want something new, or they want to be able to step into a new level of greatness that they haven't experienced before. I do love to integrate faith. I just am finishing up one of my books right now about divine leadership secrets and its strategies so that you can lead boldly, build powerful businesses, and advance God's kingdom. But if I had to put it in a nutshell, I would probably say that at the end of the day, I like to serve leaders who are ready to rise and go to the next level strategically, spiritually, and sustainably. And I love to help them build that.
Well, there's a great deal in that package of excellence that you described, my friends. Congratulations for what you've accomplished. I know you're very well respected and very respected, not just in this industry of coaching and training and speaking and consulting, if you will, in that regard, but just by anyone that has an opportunity to have God bless them and have you walk along the path with them. Just so much immediate respect and trust. Let me start by jumping back. So you left a few things out, right? You mentioned a little bit, you're a mom,
Yeah.
you're a wife, and
Yep.
you're a grandmother
I
in that
am.
aspect. Talk a little bit about how those experiences have come in your life and maybe have influenced you as you've worked to not only develop your business, but to serve others.
Oh, yes. So Kevin and I have talked in private conversations about my wonderful grandson, Oliver. I love being a grandma. I know I probably did not tell the truth. You're right. About what I've been called to do. I've really been called to be a grandma. That's what God really wants me to do. I just love that. I love my family. I met my husband in junior high school. We've been married and been together forever. And it's been a journey of really learning to bring out the best in my family first, because I believe that we can't be good stewards of anything else or good leaders of anyone else if we don't steward ourselves well and we don't serve our families well. And so I've always had the belief that I put God first and my covenant that I have with him, then the covenant that I have with my husband, and then so my God first, family second, and then my business is third, and my ministry and things like that I've been able to incorporate into the business. So it's been a beautiful journey.
Yeah, you mentioned your grandson Oliver. I too have a grandson Oliver, so it's kind of ironic that God would blend that piece in that setting. So there are no words to describe what being a grandparent means or feels like in any way, shape, or form. I've tried a number of times.
I feel like it's just a blessing that God gives us of us a peak of legacy and significance. I can remember having dinner with John Maxwell one time, and he was in a transition period. And I asked him, I'm like, what's next? And he said, I'm really burdened about countries. I want to see a country be transformed. I believe we can transform the planet. He says, by being the salt and the light. He says, and he grabbed my hand and looked me just straight in the eye. And he just said, I want you to really understand something. He said, this is what God's really teaching me in this moment, that once you've tasted significance, success will never satisfy. And that has rung into my heart, into my spirit, because I think we have a tendency as human beings, business leaders, all of that, right? But mostly just as human beings, that we want to chase success. But when we can get to that next level where it's more than success, that it has a greater impact, it has a greater legacy, be able to watch that family legacy. I'm so honored and so blessed to have a grandson, to be able to see that legacy and see the growth in myself and my family, but see it in my daughter and what she took from our everyday moments and she's instilling into Oliver. It's just so beautiful to see, and then seeing him flourish as well. But I really feel like that's part of the first level of significance, and that's really where transformation takes place.
Well said, my friend. I know my wife and I have talked a great deal. We love at family events just to set off to the side and watch our children be parents to their children, and then watch the grandchildren interacting as well. To your point, I believe it is a transformational moment. And speaking of which, to unpack a bit more as we segue across, many times when we hear transformation or change, we in the natural, or at least I have fallen into this trap, if you will, think busyness, constant movement. But you said it well when you alluded transformation really comes in those stillness times, those moments of just setting back in that setting. And that's when things can become very powerful for all of us on this earth.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I
It,
think it's about rhythm, Kevin,
mm,
because I, I'm a recovering workaholic, coming from a family of workaholics, because I'm so passionate about my mission and what God has me on the planet to do. I almost lost my life a couple of times to chronic illness, and um, ever since then, I live with such a fire and a passion that I don't want to miss a minute. I don't want to sleep, but I can get caught up in that busyness that you talk about. It's not business. It's not kingdom purposed, and it really gets us off track very quickly and very easily. But I think if we can find a rhythm, a kingdom rhythm to our lives, that's when we really start to carry that significance I was talking about into a supernatural increase. It tells us in Deuteronomy 8:18 that God has given us the ability to create wealth, but he also wants us to do it in a way that's not going to be detrimental to our families, that's not going to be detrimental to our own health. And when we get caught in that busyness, it's really, really damaging. So for me, I just think it's important that we learn to like steward our energy and that we start really looking for harmony instead of
mm.
balance, because I don't believe that there's really balance in the world, that we really get a clear understanding about like seasons and priorities and grace. I look at it kind of like an orchestra or a symphony. Like sometimes my business does have to play loud like the drums, right? And it's got to be the driver. But then there's other times where my life can be the strings when I'm with my family or I'm worshiping God. But I have to have that harmony to create the actual experience of that wonderful masterpiece that's being created. And so for me, that's how I kind of look at it. But I think that rhythm is, and kingdom rhythm is super important to bring into our lives and our businesses.
I love your analogy because I could not agree with you more in that balance aspect. If we focus on finding a balance, then we will end up going backwards in
Yes.
my experience. Believe me. For those of you that maybe haven't got to that point yet, it truly is about a rhythm. So let's build on that a little bit, Miss Spieth. Like you, I'm a workaholic. I'm not sure that I've moved far enough in recovering. I have my moments in those aspects, but it's like for those of you that may be watching or listening old enough to remember the 33 and a third LPs, the record albums that went on the record players, every once in a while the needle would hit a scratch and it would just continuously replay.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of what busyness does for me. I get into a rhythm of not being a workaholic, and then I get into this busyness aspect.
Yeah.
When we think about busyness, Ms. Spieth, there's a number of variables that I could say have impacted me. One, you want to feel like you're doing something important.
Yeah.
Many times when I've stepped back, what I was doing wasn't important with anyone except myself. It was about a comfort level that maybe I was active, but it
Mhm.
wasn't active in the right manner in that setting. Talk a little bit about what you've done. How have you been able to move past some of that trap busyness can place us all into where we're not really bringing the value that we intend to?
Yeah. Something that comes to mind is part of that comes from ego, right? We need to
Mm.
feel like we're busy. We need to feel like we're successful. So we just keep being busy, hoping that something's going to happen instead of taking that pause, taking a day off, taking a sabbatical, really spending time with the Lord, listening to hear what He has so that we can lead from a place of divine instruction for us. Because when we get into that space, everything changes, right? I also think that busyness can come from a lack of confidence of who we really are and the identity of what we were created to steward.
Mm.
Because God's put inside of us, and we've also developed by His leading, right, to become better people. We may have learned skills, we may have learned more about leadership development, but it's so easy to get caught up into that busyness and not know our true identity or what we were really created for. And then we don't live it out. And I really feel like that busyness can also be rooted in perfectionism and people pleasing. So we feel like we have to live to this worldly standard of what we think we're supposed to be doing or what it's supposed to be looking like. And then we get into this additional problem, I think, that goes on with this, which would be like a scarcity mindset. And so we lose our sense of faith. We start living in this place of fear. And it just creates this huge down spiral. I almost think of it kind of like a tornado where it starts picking stuff up as it starts swirling around, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And when we lead from that place of divine instruction, we can release all of this. We can live in the freedom that Ephesians 3:20 tells us about, because, God tells us there that he wants to work in. So that's the work we have to do internally. And then through us to be able to do supernaturally more than what we could ever ask, think, dream, or imagine. But that's supposed to come from our overflow and not from the busyness.
Well said. I said at the outset, Miss Spieth, very inspirational. Thank you, Miss Spieth. From the bottom of my heart, God bless you. So much wisdom has been presented. And I know you're now going to go write some more chapters of your book, probably, right?
I am. I'm in the final 2. I've just got a couple more to go.
All right.
I'm going to finish today or tomorrow.
You are awesome. You're inspirational, you're transformational, and just so positive. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, my friend, from the very bottom of my heart. Thank you again for giving me your time for all of us to help us along our path.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
God bless you, and thank you for watching and/or listening. And again, if you want to reach out to Becky, contact her at the email she just passed along. And just remember, you matter, you count. God's there for all of us. Until next time, God bless.